Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattvalyam Ramanama Ranane.
Mithila was another famous kingdom around this time. It was equal in fame and magnificence to Ayodhya. Janakapura was the capital city of Mithila, and its ruler was the famous and noble King Janaka. It was well known throughout the lands that the great bow of Lord Shiva belonged to King Janaka. This added to the fame of Mithila. Many sages and princes would visit Janakapura to see the magnificent bow and hear its story. Sage Vishwamitra arrived there with Rama and Lakshmana.
King Janaka was delighted to hear of the sage's arrival. His ministers, priests, and he went to the palace gates to invite them. Upon seeing Rama and Lakshmana standing next to the stage, Janaka was speechless. He could tell that they were special divine personalities, but he did not recognize them. Once they were seated, he asked Vishwamitra, "O sage, who are those young godlike youths with you? They have stolen my heart. Who is their father? Which kingdom are they from?" Sage Vishwamitra was happy to answer the king's questions and replied, "O great king, these young princes are Rama and Lakshmana. They are the sons of the great king Dashratha, who rules over Ayodhya. They are with me as they protected my ashram by killing the demoness Tadaka and her brother Subahu. With the demons no longer troubling us, we could complete our yajnas. On the way to Janakapura, Rama released Ahalya from the curse of sage Gautama. They are here to see the great bow of Lord Shiva. Why don't you share the story of how it came to be yours?"
King Janaka was excited to hear about the bravery of Rama and Lakshmana. From the sage's words, he also understood that they were divine. His heart started beating faster as he hoped that Rama would break the bow or Lord Shiva. He narrated the story of the bow to them.
"This bow used to belong to Lord Shiva," said the king. "Once Shiva became very angry at the Devatas, so he picked up this bow to fight with them. Seeing this, the Devatas fell at his feet and begged for forgiveness. Being soft-hearted, Lord Shiva forgave them. He also gave them the bow to indicate he would not fight with them anymore. One day, the Devatas were pleased with my forefathers and gave them the bow. This is how it has come down to me. This bow is very dear to me," continued the king, "and I've made a promise that whoever can string and break it will marry Sita, my daughter. Sita is very special, as she is a gift from Mother Earth herself. Many years ago, when I was plowing land to get it ready for a yajna, I found a beautiful baby girl lying on the ground. I got her home and raised her as my daughter, Sita. When she was young, one day, her ball went under the box in which the bow was resting. She simply pushed the box to the side to get her ball. Since then, I've known she is divine. She deserves an equally divine personality as her husband." Many kings and princes have come and tried their hand at breaking the bow, but none has succeeded. The young princes are welcome to try and break the bow tomorrow. In his heart of hearts, he prayed that the blue-complexioned Ram would break the bow and marry Sita.
That evening, Rama and Lakshmana decided to go sightseeing in Janakapura. They sought permission from sage Vishwamitra and then stepped into the city. But now the word had spread that two young divine princes had come with sage Vishwamitra. Everyone started running out of their houses and shops to see them. The streets became crowded, people stood on the rooftops to catch a glimpse, and women peeked from behind the curtains in their houses. They all left with what they were doing because they did not want to miss seeing these beautiful princes. And people saw them, their hearts overflowed with love and joy. The ladies started talking to each other. "Oh, how I wish the blue-complexed one would break the bow and marry our Sita," said one. "But he looks so delicate, it seems so wrong. How can such a gentle prince break such a mighty bow?" complained another. "Haven't you heard?" said the third. "He killed the demoness Taraka and released Alhya from her curse. There is definitely something about him. I think he will succeed in breaking the bow and marry Janaki, daughter of Janak."
The next morning, Ram and Lakshman went to the famous Pushpaka Vatika, the flower garden, to get flowers for the morning puja. The garden was bursting with color, as if it was eagerly waiting for the Lord to come. The flowers were in full bloom, and the wind carried their fragrance far and wide. The birds and bees were happily chirping and humming as they went from flower to flower, collecting the sweet nectar. It seemed to be extra sweet today. All the petals of each flower were open as wide as they could, as if trying to reach Ram's attention.
The branches of the trees swayed to the wind. They too wanted Rama to come and embrace them. The peacocks, parrots, and cuckoos were so excited that they could not stop dancing. They wanted Lord to see their dance. It felt as if all the plants, trees, and birds were singing and talking, taking the name of the Lord. If one listened carefully, one could hear the soft murmur of Rama, Rama.
As Rama and Lakshmana started walking around in the garden, plucking flowers, Sita also arrived with her companions. She had come to worship Mother Parvati, whose temple was in the garden. One of Sita's companions saw Ram and was spellbound. She hurried back to Sita, who was about to enter the temple, and said, "Oh, princess, you can have darshan of Mother Gauri later. Right now, there's something more important." The two princes, Ram and Lakshman, whom everyone was talking about, are here. You must see them. You will also fall in love with them instantly. The moment their eyes met, Sita fell in love with Ram. She could also not stop gazing at him. She felt as though she had found a long-lost treasure. Her heart overflowed with love and devotion, and she almost fainted, but her companions caught her.
Sita captured the prince of Rama in her heart. Then she went to the temple and prayed to Mother Gauri, Parvati, "Please guide Rama to break the bow of Lord Shiva and marry me." At that time, the garland around the Divine Mother fell upon Sita, and a voice came from the deity, "Your wish shall be fulfilled." Full of happiness on hearing those words, Sita returned to the palace.
Next day, Vishwamitra led Rama and Lakshman to the palace hall where Sita's Swayamvar was to start. When the news spread that the two brothers were headed to the Swayamvar, the citizens of Janakpura forgot what they were doing and ran to the court of King Janaka. They were all eager to see if Rama would break the bow. Old people, young people, and children went. Businessmen and priests went. All the ladies dressed up quickly and went. The homes and streets of Janakpura were deserted. By the time Rama and Lakshmana arrived at the court, it was packed. Clearly, everyone was eager to see what would happen that day. King Janaka was seated across from the entrance to the hall. To his left were the other princes and guests. To his right was the general public. Because Rama was the Supreme Almighty, everyone saw him according to their inner nature. The devotees saw him as their beloved Lord. The scholars saw him in his cosmic form encompassing many universes. The evil king saw him as very fearsome. The woman saw him as the most beautiful man. Janaka's wife, Sunaina, saw him as a child. Everyone present in the hall was staring at Rama so intensely that they couldn't blink. Not wanting to be left out, even the Devatas came down to the sky to see what would happen. There was intense anticipation in the hall.
Then King Janaka called for Sita to come to the hall. Her friends had dressed her, so she looked like a bride. Her beauty enchanted everyone across the three worlds. All the kings and princes attending the event wanted her as their bride, but she had eyes only for Rama. He was the treasure of her life. Was he here? Where was he hiding? Why could she not see him? Her eyes scanned the entire hall and finally came to rest on Ram. Seeing him, she quietly smiled to herself and thanked Mother Gauri in her mind. Only Ram noticed her smile. He understood that she had chosen him as her husband, but first he had to prove to everyone else that he was worthy of her.
Meanwhile, all the citizens of Janakapura, seated there, could not stop gazing at Sita and Rama. In their minds, they prayed, "O God, please bestow some knowledge on our king. Please make him give up his stubborn vow so that Rama and Sita can be married to each other. They are a perfect match. No one will be upset." But then the rules of the Swayamvar were announced.
All the kings and princes who were assembled here are welcome to try and lift the mighty bow of the Lord Shiva. However, that will not be enough. They will also have to string it and break it. Whoever succeeds in doing this will marry Sita.
The kings and princes who were humble knew that they would fail, so they did not even try. Instead, they prayed in their heart for Ram to be successful. The kings and princes who were proud decided to try and lift the bow. They would walk up to it and try to lift it with all their might, but they would all fail. The divine bow would absorb their strength. Thus, it only grew stronger and heavier. Sensing the frustration of King Janaka that no king or prince was able to lift the bow, sage Vishwamitra turned to Ram and said, "O prince, it is your turn now. Show the world your strength. Break the bow and put an end to the mystery of the king." Hearing his guru's instructions, Ram stood up and bowed to the guru to seek his blessings. As he was walking towards the bow, the citizens of Janakapura were praying in their hearts. O Lord, if our prayers have any merit, may Ram succeed. Please bestow upon him the strength to lift and break the bow. Let him marry our dear Sita. Sita too had closed her eyes and was praying to Mother Gauri. O Mother Gauri, please do not abandon your daughter at this time of need. Please make the bow light so that Ram may be able to lift and break it. As she was thinking of this, her heart felt heavy and eyes filled up with tears. She could not wait for Ram to break the bow and marry her. Would the gods answer her prayers?
As Ram stood by the bow, the air was filled with anticipation. Would he be the one to break the bow? Ram looked at Sita and indicated her that he understood her desire. Next, he folded his hands and paid respects to Lord Shiva. Then he lifted the bow as easily as a child lifts a toy and broke it into two. It was so quick that no one knew exactly what happened. It all happened in a flash. The thunderous sound of the bow breaking was heard across the three worlds.
The Devatas who were watching from above started clapping, blowing conch shells, and showering flowers. Then everyone realized that Ram had broken the bow and he would marry Sita. Word of thanks came from all those who had prayed for this event. There were shouts of Jai Ho! The king who were proud were now shamed. Those who had hoped for Ram's success were joyous. Everyone started singing and dancing. There was much merriment, just as a dry rice field springs up after a shower. King Janaka and Queen Sunaina were relieved and happy. Finally, there would be a wedding.